there can't be competition among three people. There can only be competition between two people. Okay, so what the three-way collaboration does, it sanitizes the creative effort because nobody can say, hey.
If you start by creating Kias, you're never going to be trusted to make a Rolls Royce, but you can start with a Rolls Royce and you can always work your way down. But chances are you won't.
The moment you create a collaboration like this, you're in the free zone. Nobody from the outside can comprehend what you're doing or thinking about.
I generally like to do collaborations where the end customer pays for the innovation. In 2017, Dan Sullivan made a bold statement, and that is he created the free zone. The big idea behind the free zone is he wanted to create a $15 trillion economy inside a strategic coach by the time he celebrated his 100th birthday. Well, he just celebrated his 80th birthday. There's 20 years left. And the big question that I'm going to be asking Dan today is, what are the downsides of collaboration, and what have you learned about collaborating, and what would you have done differently when it came to figuring out collaboration 30 years ago? So Dan, take it away. First of all, anything you want to add about the free zone and the $15 trillion economy?
Well, Mike, I think the first thing is that the word collaboration has really changed meaning, because if you're a World War II movie buff, in the Second World War, collaboration is what got you shot. What it meant was that you were you were collaborating with the enemy, and that got you shot. I don't care which side of the fight you were on. If you helped out the enemy, you were considered a collaborator. So one of the downsides then of collaboration in the wrong circumstances, it gets you shot. So I think getting killed is definitely
that's the big oops. Yeah,
that's the downside. But the other thing is the word has really changed meaning as we've gotten into a network economy. I think that we're talking a lot about collaboration today because we've switched from a pyramid economy where you had large pyramidal bureaucratic organizations to now you have network economy where you have nodes and everything is doing. And now it's much easier now to combine talents like we're doing on this capability amplifier, Mike. We're collaborating with talents. We put together a podcast, and we each have a capability, but we're amplifying it by collaborating with each other in conversation and picking different topics. So my sense is that it's the change in the structure of the economy that has put collaboration into, one, a more positive light. But the other thing is it's now possible to put capabilities together electronically in a way that you could never do in, where you were separated by distance and somebody was talented in Cleveland, another person was talented in Chicago, but they couldn't really collaborate. Now they can. And so I think that's one of the big things that's really happened. And I think the COVID period really speeded this up.
Yeah, I would agree. I think when I started Strategic Coach and, even when you and I started the podcast together and I got deeper in, from the 10X program into Free Zone, and I'd hear you talk about collaborating, the notion of a non-competitive mindset where we're going to make something together that's 10x bigger. It's a non-obvious way to think. And also it's expansive. And I also think that when you take into account that with technology, even with AI or like when we're recording conversations, then we can instantly summarize them and create a plan and then prototype something quickly. The notion of collaborating where before it would be like, let's get together, let's talk, and we'll talk, and then we'll make a plan, and then we might delegate. The time to result has dramatically shortened, even in the past 18 months. It's massive now. Like when you look at 3D printing, you could print something you could be talking about a couple hours ago. Now you could build an AI that could prototype something that produces a thinking result or a marketing result in minutes. So I'm just thinking through what you talked about and saying, okay, what have I learned and how have I used it since? It's like I know for my own teams, our ability to produce with people has dramatically shifted because we can talk about a different idea, a different mindset, and that alone makes collaboration better. And then when we have tools also, it advances even quicker. I hope that made sense.
Yeah. One of the things you asked me before we went on to kind of take a look at what I'm seeing in the trend towards collaboration. Well, first of all, I've learned some things have to be in place before you can even start a collaboration. And one is, I believe you can only do it with entrepreneurs.
Okay.
I don't think that people who have jobs can really collaborate. Okay. Because they're not getting paid for the new thing. They're not getting paid for anything new. The other thing is the entrepreneurs have to be cash confident. Each of them has to be confident. So if you have
what does that mean?
Cash confidence means that they don't need the money right away if they're going to create something new. That they know how to make money their own way. They know how to make money. They have lots of money. And so I think collaboration requires, one, you have to be an entrepreneur, but you have to be a cash confident entrepreneur. You don't need a short-term payoff for inventing something new. So that would be two things that I would say right off the bat.
Okay, and I'll tell you something. I don't know exactly if it's a question or a statement, but I'll try both. So I get a lot of requests to do collaborations, and right away, what I'm asking myself is like, how fast can I iterate and prototype this thing and bring it to generating revenue? And I generally like to do collaborations where the end customer pays for the innovation, right? So all of what you just said is true, which is, okay, I'm collaborating with another entrepreneur. We're cash confident. But if I don't see a fast payoff, I usually don't do it just because there's so many other opportunities. And I treat my time the same way. So again, I'm going to give you one mindset. And then if this is flawed thinking, I want you to deconstruct it. But here's how I treat my time now. And it's not for everything, but most things, but especially with AI, I give myself 10 minutes with something new. I go, okay, my time is worth $10,000 per hour. I always act that way. I treat it that way. So I'm going to risk $2,000 to try out an idea and prototype something. And then I'll make a decision if it's going to be a value creator for a client or a partner or my own business. Otherwise, I'm going to dump it fast. In other words, I'll only take so many gambles and risks. So help me out with the short-term payoff versus the mindset I just shared with you. Where do you think the flaws are, or the?
So another box that you have to check before I get involved in a collaboration is that we have to have the same end user in mind. In other words, and it's our favorite end user. So I have a talent and you have a talent. So Mike, we have the same end user in mind with capability amplifier. It's entrepreneurs who are watching these programs.
Yep.
I don't think it's the CEO at a bank that's watching these entrepreneurs. So it's somebody who's entrepreneurial and likes the vibes that are coming from you and me about entrepreneurship. And so what we're doing is we're taking a capability here that you have and a capability here that I have. We're putting them together to create a new third thing. So the fourth box is you're creating a new third thing. that you couldn't have created it without my capability. I couldn't have created it without your capability. And we're creating it for what I call a hero target. We want to be a hero to a person who is the same person. So I would never do a collaboration that didn't directly benefit the entrepreneurs and strategic coach. I wouldn't be interested. I wouldn't be interested. My heart wouldn't be in it.
Hey, it's Mike Koenigs. I'm going to get you right back to the podcast, but I wanted to give you a free gift. This is my best-selling book, Ai Accelerator. It is a step-by-step guide that'll help you use AI to get your time back. Also, learn how to use AI, but more importantly, help you get your teams to use it so you can give them their time back and also get them focused on more valuable activities. So this book has examples. It's got step-by-step videos and all kinds of things that you can start using right now. You can get that copy by just going to mikekoenigs.com/free AI. There you'll just fill out a brief form. I'll send you not only the PDF of the book, but I'll also give you an audio version of the book as well. So go to mikekoenigs.com/free AI and let's go back to the podcast.
I 100% agree. Mission critical. And it's absolutely easy to get total alignment there. So I'm going to stack on top of what you just said, which is where I've been saying this one line for a long time. If you start by creating Kias, you're never going to be trusted to make a Rolls Royce, but you can start with a Rolls Royce and you can always work your way down, but chances are you won't. Okay. And I'm a firm believer in, like, if all of what you said is true, so that you and I were entrepreneurs and we recognize each other as such, we're cash confident, meaning we don't have to make money right now, but our goal is to create enough value that it does, right? We don't need a short-term payoff, but I also think that we both know that the combination of what we're doing is going to create value that will be paid for. Okay. And that if we have the same user in mind, the same customer, it's so easy for us to have a collaborative conversation and say, okay, we're going to create a product today for, let's say a guy named Garrett. Okay. We know a guy named Garrett and he's a perfect fit client. And maybe we'd identify 3 to 5 more just like him. And there'd be a resource, a tool that we know could open up his ability to acquire 5 times as many things as he's currently doing right now. Right. So we could invent something, prototype it. And because we know that customer, we could test it out being, hey, would you be interested in this?
Yeah.
I say yes, right? So we could invent the pitch in a day.
Well, the other thing is that the type of person I'd like to do for it would join us on the creative team. And they would pay for the creativity because it's actually
precisely.
Yeah. So there's a 5th box here is that you make the end use customer part of the creative team right from the beginning. We're going to create something brand new for you. It's never been created before. It's directly related to what we know about what you need. And the two of us are getting together. And we would like you to tell us whether we're on cue or off cue as we're doing this. So we're going to build you in right from the beginning as someone we have in mind. And if it's at a certain point, you tell us how much you would pay for this. Okay. And there's all sorts of ways it can go after that. Okay. But they know who they are and they know who people like them are and they know what they're looking for. So they're going to tell us, right? They're going to help us fashion what the final thing looks like. And maybe we're going to do a deal with them, but we won't do a deal with the next 10 people they introduce us to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the big thing here, not only are we cash confident that we don't need the cash right away,
Mm-hmm.
we actually don't need the cash long range. It's just a more interesting way to make cash.
Well, it's in the past. Let's see, what day is it today? As of the time we're recording this, Tuesday. So in the past 9 days, I've had 2 people sign up to work. I mean, this really is our business model. It's like, let's talk about your best future self, and we're going to invent it together. The only difference would be like in my case, we'd be the collaborators creating a new product. My current model is you're the client, you are the product, and we're making a new product.
Yeah.
But frankly, love the idea of the multiplying effect of, 2 collaborators creating for the end client.
And I actually think it's 3 more and more. That's another thing I've learned. I think it's actually 3. And each of them keeps the other 2 honest.
So 3 collaborators are ideal.
And
for
then
a customer.
for a hero target. Yeah, you're putting 3 capabilities together. Yeah, and we have a tool in Coach, the triple play, where you can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've seen the triple play, the living triple plays in the last 2 workshops.
Yeah.
Where you each have a thing, and then you get together and chat, and they each do a triple play, and then they come back and talk about the triple play. Yeah.
And then when we AIfied it, we could prototype the business in 40 minutes. So I think that is, so I knew when we were doing the triple play with 3 people, I knew we were doing it, but this is the first you've shared the ideal collaboration is with 3.
Yeah. I don't think it's 2. I think it's 3. And because there can't be competition among 3 people. There can only be competition between 2 people. Okay, so what the 3-way collaboration does, it sanitizes the creative effort, because nobody can say, hey, guys, let's do it this way. It's very interesting. And I've discovered that recently, that 3 just works better. That there's easily double the thrill when you add another person to the original idea. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's very energetically satisfying when you have 3 people to do it. Yeah, and the big thing is that I think we had a room of 48, 48 people, so we had 16 threes. And I just asked the AI program, Perplexity, I said, out of a group of 48 people, how many combinations of 16 can you get? And it was like 9 or 10,000.
Yes.
9 or 10,000. And so my sense is that this is a new economic form on the planet. It's strictly entrepreneurial. You have to be cash confident entrepreneurs. You have to have the same target end user who you want to invite in the creative department, So it's got a whole series of checks to it that I didn't know about 7 years ago when we started the free zone. But you are in the free zone when the moment you create a collaboration like this, you're in the free zone. Nobody from the outside can comprehend what you're doing or thinking about.
Well, especially in the instance where we worked. So again, just for anyone who's trying to visualize this, the basic idea is you had us all write our unique abilities on separate pieces of paper. We also added our Kolbe score, which Kolbe, which tells us quite a bit about how we think, how we interact, and how our brain operates.
Results, how you take action to get results.
And so in the instance where we were with, and I even have it, I actually have it present. So Look at this, Dan. I'm going to bring up a little visual. And here goes. So this was when we did the presentation. This was my unique ability. We had Brian Laskin and David Reiling. And we wrote these down. And then when we AI-ified them, we asked AI to combine our unique abilities and talents and to come up with ideas. And we were able to come up with 60 that eventually turned into a script and a video and a business model. And I think, getting back to what you're saying, the idea of 3 people at once, the dynamic is so, it's like if you're just going and playing back and forth. I remember if one of us got stumped, we're stumped, but it's hard to stump 3 people, especially if it's 3 people with an AI to keep things moving along, because we can research and ask an infinite number of questions.
But again, you're bringing in a particular aspect of why collaboration is becoming more prominent now. It's because the technology is now available to show very fast proof that the collaboration is working.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the speed with which you're ahead of anyone else I've ever met. The ability that you can to package a new idea and put it into presentation form is unmatched right now. But I think that you'll explore, I suspect, as a result of our podcast and the work that we're doing in Coach in the Free Zone program, that you're going to start exploring with having other partners, equal partners. In other words, people who are cash confident, they're entrepreneurs, and they're on the same wavelength for creating value for their client. I think it'll be very interesting to see what you do with this. Plus all the the AI skills that you have to bring to it. I think it's a very interesting. I think what you're doing is really creating a new form for us in the free zone. You're creating an entirely new form what you do with this. So my sense is by 2044, when I'm 100, if we just grow naturally the way Coach has been growing for the last 35 years, we'll have 10,000 in the program. And by that time, the entire program will be the Free Zone program, and you have layers of, skill acquisition or tool acquisition as you go. But easily, if you put these type of collaborations together among 10,000 people, you could have easily 50, and it's 15 trillion in IP value. So this would be patent value. The cash flow will be larger than that. Yeah. But it's just really interesting to me where this is going. And at the 7-year mark of Free Zone, I couldn't have imagined where we are today. And I have a suspicion 20 years in the future, I can't imagine now where we'll be then.
I agree. So I'm gonna read off the big takeaways from this conversation here and see if there's anything else you'd add. Because there's 7 so far. I added a 7th one. So number 1, these are the things that have to be in place. Only do collaborations with entrepreneurs. 2, entrepreneurs have to be cash confident. Number 3, they don't need a short-term payoff. Number 4, they need to be selling to the same end user. In other words, the customer needs to be the same. Number 5, the customer would pay for the creativity. In other words, the end user. And then you had a little nuance to add on, which is at some point you want to ask them, what would you pay for this? And then the ideal collaboration is with 3, because the 2 keep everyone honest. There's no competition amongst 3, and there's double the thrill. And then I added a 7th, which is experiment with AI to multiply the effects and the speed of the creation
and the package,
the outcome
and the presentation. Yeah. I've learned a lot from this. I really, because because I just keep experimenting. This works, this doesn't work, and everything else. But you start developing some touch points. If these things aren't true, it's probably not going to work. You know? Yeah. And, I've really learned, because I've had a whole series of collaborations, which I learned from, but they didn't really work as a collaboration. I mean, you go through a lot of eggs before you get a really good omelet, and so it's been really interesting. But I think you just, when you're trying out new stuff, you just have to go through, there's no shortcut to it. You just have to go through the experiences. You got to internalize, the kind of people who are good collaborators. And but the big thing for them is that they have to be sort of carefree in terms of cash.
Hey, this is Mike Koenigs. We'll get right back to the podcast in a moment, but first I want to give you one of my favorite books. It is called Your Next Act. This is actually my 16th #1 best-selling book, and I wrote it because I was in a situation where I wanted to reinvent myself, and I've talked to tons of founders just like you who've either sold their businesses and want to create their next act, or you're selling to an audience that, let's say, isn't at the level you want to be selling to. You want to sell a more expensive product to a better customer, or you've realized that having a strong personal brand will multiply and amplify the value of everything you touch for the rest of your life. That's what Your Next Act is all about. And inside it, there are videos and guides that'll help you elevate your packaging, positioning, messaging, get attention, build the all-important platform that you need to elevate your status and your prices. So you can get it at mikekoenigs.com/free. There, go pick up your copy of Your Next Act. I'll let you go back to the podcast now.
And I think, if I just added an 8th one on there is, and we've got 3 things about the cash, but it's experiential iteration is what you said. This is something that just requires a willingness to, and it's not even fail. It's so much. I think that experiential iteration involves, you're going to have to make a lot of little pivots. Mm-hmm. And none of those, that doesn't mean fail, because I think you can have a very successful product the first time, but you're going to have lots of little failure points, but you're correcting for it, especially if you've got 3 really good collaborators.
Yeah. And I would say, just to expand on one of the points, the end user is 50% of the creative team. You can only get to 50%.
Wow.
The end user provides 50% of the information you need for successful creation of a new thing.
That's pretty heavy. I put that as number 6 now. So now we've got 9 points for Free Zone 2025, or the downsides and upsides of collaboration. We'll have to decide which of these titles works best.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
we're going to send this out to all the clients when Gord gets it all packaged.
Awesome. Okay. I'll coordinate with Gord, and don't go away. But we'll wrap this episode up. So this was definitely a great learning experience for both of us this time. I'm so glad this one came up. I'm super excited, and great job, Dan. Lots of excellent points here. Great learning experience, and I'm going to use it right away. So anything you want to say to wrap this one up?
No, I would just say that I think that for the right kind of entrepreneur, this is a very, very exciting future. And I would say the other thing is that the entrepreneur, and maybe this is number 10, they have to be a growth-minded entrepreneur. There's no end point. They have no end point to their entrepreneurial career. There's no retirement. There's no getting to a certain status point or anything. They're just in it for they're an entrepreneur just for growth.
End point in sight. Okay, we got 10. Great job. Well done. All right, you got a bunch of gold stars today, Dan Sullivan. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you in the next episode.